Hi guys, it's Dan from Dan's Best Tech. Is the $700 Asus Zenbook 14 with the Ryzen 5 CPU and MX350 GPU the best ultralight laptop for 2020? Do I recommend it for gaming? Go to this timestamp to see the performance results only, but for everyone else, stay tuned for the full review. To me, it might not be as elegant or as complete as the Razer Blade Stealth or the Macbook Pro, but its CPU and graphical performance in such a thin and light chassis and for such a small price makes this laptop great. Asus is selling the Zenbook 14 with the MX350 graphics card inside for only $700 currently at Best Buy. That's less than half the price of the Asus Zephyrus G14 with the RTX 2060. But I was able to grab this laptop on sale for only $550 over the July 4th weekend at Best Buy, so definitely take advantage of future sales if you can. For these low prices, you get the AMD Ryzen 5 4500U processor, 8GB of RAM, 256 gigabytes of SSD screen, or was that storage? And the MX350 GPU, and a 14-inch IPS Full HD display. And Asus crammed all of that into a 14-inch Ultrabook that weighs in at 2.65 pounds. This is one of the lightest laptops on the market with a dedicated GPU. Since this laptop packs so much power into a thin and light chassis, I think it is one of the best on-the-go laptops for students or professionals who want a super small and portable laptop, but also the graphical power for games, photo and video editing, and even CAD work. The aluminum alloy case feels rigid, cool, and premium while also keeping the weight down. As I said before, although it's not as classy as the Razer Blade Stealth, this laptop weighs in at half a pound lighter and half the cost. And the silver laptop doesn't show fingerprints at all, something I can't say is true for the black Razer Blade Stealth. Moving to the keyboard, I think it's great. It reminds me of the MacBook keyboards before Apple tried to switch over to the butterfly keys. The key travel feels superb, the activation force feels great, and I can type on the keys very quietly for when I'm in a meeting or in class. Some might say that they are a little mushy, but I actually prefer to type on keyboards that feel like this. The mushiness adds to the quietness. Additionally, I love that Asus decided to reverse the function keys by default. The only downside is that the white backlighting on the silver keys is very dim. That said, it does its job in a dark room. As far as upgradability, you can upgrade the 256GB SSD yourself, but sadly, the 8GB of RAM is soldered on. So now we have to talk about the speakers. The downward-facing speakers do their job, so you won't be blown away. Some might say that they are tinny and lacking bass, but 99% of all laptops sound just like this. Luckily, you can use the headphone jack with external speakers or headphones for better sound quality. Headphones have the benefit to drown out fan noise when gaming as well. Moving to the trackpad, I would say it's a mixed bag. For a Windows trackpad, it's fine. I love that Windows is finally catching up and including many more gestures for the operating system. That said, the problem I have comes with the delay between when I move my finger and the response of the cursor on the screen. It feels like I am using a remote desktop. The delay is driving me nuts. Luckily, there is no delay when using a Bluetooth or wired mouse. Therefore, to fix this issue, I highly recommend using a mouse with this laptop. Now let's talk about that display. The 14-inch 60Hz Full HD IPS panel has great viewing angles and is what I prefer in a laptop of this size. Its color accuracy is better than everything else in this price range, and in the bezel-less age we live in, the bezels around the screen aren't that large either. Additionally, since they aren't made of glass like in other laptops, you don't have to worry about fingerprint smudges all along the side of the screen. Speaking of fingerprint smudges on the screen, this laptop does not have a touchscreen if you're into that sort of thing. But there is a webcam above the screen with Windows Hello, something that was missing on the Asus Zephyrus G14. Although slim and light, the Zenbook 14 has a good selection of ports. On the left side, it includes a charger port, USB 3.2 Gen 2, HDMI out, and USB-C 3.2 Gen 2. On the right side, it includes a USB 2.0 port, a micro SD card reader, and an audio jack. I love that this thing includes USB-C, HDMI, USB Type-A, and a micro SD card slot. Is it missing anything, you might ask? Well, Some might say that it's missing power delivery through the USB-C port. Is there anything else? Okay, look, Thunderbolt 3 might be missing on this laptop, but you do get Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.0, something still lacking in the Apple MacBooks. And besides, if you're buying this laptop, maybe you have more important things to spend your money on than a $500 to $1,500 eGPU upgrade. And that leads us to the CPU and GPU. I'm very excited to say that Asus and AMD have definitely brought their A-game this year. The 2.6-pound Asus Zenbook 14 includes a Ryzen 5 4500U CPU along with the MX350 GPU. With regards to performance, the Zenbook 14 hits a sweet spot for good performance without breaking the bank. When compared to the MSI Modern, Dell Inspiron, MSI Prestige, and Zephyrus G14, this laptop definitely gives the best bang for the least amount of buck. It gives a Geekbench 5 multi-core score around 4600. So the Ryzen 5 CPU is slightly faster than the Core i5-10210U processors in last year's laptops. That said, the Asus Zephyrus G14's Ryzen 9 4900 is almost twice as powerful. But that laptop costs twice as much and weighs almost a pound heavier. Regarding the graphical performance, the MX350 is a perfect option for an ultralight with only a single fan. The OpenCL graphics score from Geekbench 5 shows a score around 13,000, which is technically more powerful than the MX250 GPUs from last year's MSI Modern 14 and Dell Inspiron 14 laptops. But the GTX 1650 Max-Q in the MSI Prestige 14 is almost 3 times as powerful, and the RTX 2060 Max-Q in the Asus Zephyrus G14 is almost 5 times as powerful. But again, these laptops cost hundreds of dollars more depending on the sales. So although I can't recommend this laptop for gaming, it can play games just fine. With lowest settings at 720p, Grand Theft Auto 5 benchmarked in the 40s and 50s, Shadow of Mordor averaged 89 FPS, Rise of the Tomb Raider got an average of 49 FPS, CSGO got 80 to 120 FPS, Witcher 3 ran between 60 and 80 FPS, and Fortnite ran around 190 FPS. As a result, although the Asus Zenbook 14 with the MX350 isn't nearly as strong as gaming laptops with full GTX and RTX series GPUs, any game can still be played at low settings better than any integrated GPU. Do I wish the laptop had more than 8 GB of RAM? Yes. Do I wish that the RAM was user upgradable? Yes. Do I wish that this laptop included a GTX 1650 Max-Q? Absolutely. But again, the Asus Zenbook 14 with its dedicated MX350 still plays games better than any other laptop with just an integrated GPU. So I know what you're thinking. With all this power crammed into such a thin and light laptop with only a single fan, does this laptop thermal throttle? Actually, no. You won't get a sudden drop in performance partway through a game. Running Unigine Heaven for 30 minutes with the settings at extreme didn't show any thermal throttling. 3 consecutive benchmarks showed a consistent GPU frequency of 1400 MHz, a consistent FPS of 22, and a consistent score of 550. The GPU temperature started at 36 degrees, increased to 73 degrees, but then they just stayed there. The keyboard heated up above 39 degrees C, but the bottom of the laptop did heat up to 50 degrees C. That's pretty warm, but it won't burn you. The fans do kick in when gaming, but they aren't loud or annoying in my opinion. They're just fans, not jet engines. So what about the battery life? I was able to get 7 hours out of this laptop doing basic web browsing, YouTube playback, and script writing. That's typical for an Ultrabook and amazing for a laptop that can also play games. Alright, let's talk about Apple. Is the Zenbook 14 the small MacBook Pro we were all wanting but didn't get? Is it good enough to convince macOS users to make the jump? Let me know what you think down in the comments. To me, it's very tempting. When comparing the base $1,300 13-inch MacBook Pro with its 2-year-old CPU, you get slightly better CPU performance and more than double the graphical performance. And that base 13-inch MacBook Pro costs twice as much. When comparing the Zenbook 14 to the advanced $1,800 13-inch MacBook Pro, you get on par CPU performance and almost double the graphical performance. And that advanced MacBook Pro costs 3 times as much. Sure, you get additional RAM and storage on these MacBooks, the trackpad is way better, and of course you have Thunderbolt 3 if you need it, but the variety of ports and the much better graphical performance in a laptop that weighs half a pound less for half the price is pretty compelling. To conclude, should you buy the Asus Zenbook 14 with the MX350 GPU? If you want one of the lightest ultra-portable laptops that costs as little as $550 when on sale, one with a Ryzen CPU that performs on par with much more expensive MacBook Pros, one with an MX350 that gets double the graphical performance over any integrated GPU, one that has upgradable storage, one with slim bezels around the screen, one that comes with legacy ports like USB 3.1, one that can play any game at low settings, one that doesn't thermal throttle when gaming, and one that gets superb battery life, then the Asus Zenbook 14 is for you. Just remember, it lacks Thunderbolt 3, it only includes 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. The RAM isn't user upgradable, the trackpad has significant lag, and the speakers lack bass. But what do you guys think? Would you spend $700 on the Asus Zenbook 14? Would you buy it if it was on sale again for $550? And let me know in the comments what you would like to see me test next. And finally, hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel out, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'm making my wife place an order for me.
Since when do you not like roast beef?
And she's 9 months pregnant. She has 1 week to go until her due date. She's giving me a stink eye right now, I can tell. Hey Jen, would you recommend this laptop?
It's light.
Why do you like the Razer Blade Stealth better than this one?
It's more sturdy. It feels better in my hand.
The point is that you like the Razer Blade Stealth because it shows a lot of fingerprints.
Do you want chicken breast, buffalo chicken, or just like ham and salami and pepperoni, or meatball?
Jen, I'm trying to make a video. What does the pregnant person say, Jen, and Friends? She's like, your breathing is so annoying.
She said, seriously, Ross, breathe a little louder.